The African Organization for Standardization has endorsed a Kenyan national, Njoroge, for the presidency of the global standards body, ISO. Njoroge is the former managing director of the Kenya Electricity Generating Company, KENGEN. It's well, not Africa, but Kenya's biggest utility. He's hoping to succeed the current ISO head, a Chinese national, Zhang. Zhang was elected in January 2015. His term comes to an end at the end of 2017. Now, if Njoroge is successful, this will be the first time in 70 years that global body will be headed by an African. Right, let's see exactly what this will lead to. Njoroge joins me in studio right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
I guess it's probably instructive to start with your background, because when you were running KENGEN, it was at that period of time that KENGEN became ISO certified. Yes. So what is the tangible benefit of doing that?
Well, we got certification in 2004, ISO 9001, 2008, which we got in 2004. And the whole of that was about quality management, is being able to document especially the way you do things. And that helped in terms of us recording and being able to document everything that we did as a company. And therefore, there is more predictability in terms of what you do, and that helped us to have better results in effect. So that, in terms of management, that was a much better tool of management.
So this was, I mean, from an investor's perspective, because I was before you guys listed, from an investor's perspective, this essentially was a governance benefit.
Yes, it was. It was really more governance than anything else, yeah.
All right, but moving forward, though, because when we talk about ISO standards, for a lot of people, they'll be thinking, okay, it's an ISO thing. Why should I be bothered? Why does this matter?
It matters a lot, from a personal point of view, from a business point of view, from internationally. When you look at a person as a customer, for instance, when you go to a supermarket, it's always important for you to appreciate that the goods have been properly standardized and the standards have been used in manufacturing those goods. As a business, we want to make sure that ISO, or rather the businesses recognize standards as a strategic tool to make sure that whatever you're doing, it helps you in terms of bringing down your cost, it helps you in terms of opening markets for you, and therefore it is a strategic tool for a business.
So this, let's say for argument's sake, this is a pretty big chance here to actually eliminate a lot of non-tariff barriers for manufacturing firms located in Africa.
In fact, you have put it very right. Non-tariff barriers, one of them has been the perception that is there about trade, for instance, and some of the products from certain of the areas. And therefore standards would help in terms of removing those non-tariff barriers and helping people appreciate that, yes, the goods have gone through proper standards and proper standardization, and therefore they meet the qualities which are necessary.
Let me ask you this. A lot of people who are watching this would probably say, but like in the Kenyan context, we've got a standards organization anyway.
Yes,
so where do these two come together? Why, if I've got the Kenya Bureau of Standards, it's supposed to take care of this business, why am I talking about ISO standards at the same time?
Kenya Bureau of Standards, first of all, is a member of ISO, and therefore it draws a lot of standards from ISO. You would be surprised that ISO, in fact, have got about 21,000 standards in total. And that's where all these member bodies draw their standards from and make sure that, obviously, we must have an international standard. And KEBS is just one of those bodies, and therefore they draw their standards from there.
Is there any computation? Has anyone sat down and worked out what we lose in terms of trade export opportunities by not adhering to certain ISO standards, especially in manufacturing, for example?
I must admit I have not come through those sort of statistics, but I'm sure they're there. And there could be a lot of loss in terms of business and loss of trade as a result of not being standardized, for instance, as a result of not following the standards. And this is part of what we really look at ISO, to make sure that with the standardization you're able to increase in terms of trade, you're able to open barriers, what you just called the non-tariff barriers.
Right, one last question for you. I know the ISO organization has this focus on the strategy paper for developing countries between 2016 and 2020. It's part of its wider strategy. Let's say for argument's sake, you do become president. How will you implement that? Is that going to be the centerpiece of your work there?
Well, if I was honored with this position, that really the strategic plan 2016-2020 of ISO is a very good plan which has been set up, and really the overarching goal of that is to have ISO standards everywhere, which is really a very noble objective. And therefore for me as the ISO president, I would really just focus on the strategy itself through the global network of ISO members, which are very many, and making sure that there is proper communication. There are 6 strategic directions of ISO strategy, and that's really what I would try and emphasize on.
All right, we'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we've been speaking, of course, to Njoroge. He's a candidate for the presidency at the International Standards Organization.